SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Joho Jifkados, Mvskoke Radio, Mabu Hedgedowitzkis. Welcome to our program. This is the 1st of August, beginning the dog days of summer, getting ready for even more heat as we get to progress along. One of the things we're also getting ready for, believe it or not, is back to school. I'm sure that just makes our kids just delighted. Hear the grumblings already, but we have a program here that will be looking at some of the things you need to do and the resources that our tribe is providing to get some of those students back to school. But first of all, it's been just a while since we've heard anything about the American Indian Cultural Center Museum in Oklahoma City. So to fill us in, and also the new curator, we have Heather Ottone, who will be joining us. Let's see here if we can get her. Okay, Ms. Ottone, are you with us there?
Yes. Good morning.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for helping us out here and taking some time. Now, you are in Washington, D.C. right now, correct?
I am.
National Museum of the American Indian, right?
Yes, I've been visiting the National Museum of the American Indian and their Cultural Resources Center and the amazing staff there that are working with us on our current project. Now,
are you there sort of getting some ideas, some things that you might like to see in the museum down here? What's going on?
Well, so you might be familiar that this project has been, the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum project has been in development really for quite some time, and a lot of research and community participation has already been contributed to the development of content. And I was brought on as the senior curator in mid-March, and we have hit the ground running to develop a plan for the two major exhibitions that will be installed at and ready for people to see in spring 2021. The largest gallery is the Tribal Nations Gallery that will tell the history and a story about the tribes coming to Oklahoma. But the gallery I am here in Washington, D.C. on is the life of an object. And we have the great opportunity to bring things from the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian Collection to Oklahoma. About 120 objects are going to be on view. And many of these things have not been with their people or provided an opportunity to have their stories told in over a century. So it's just a really great opportunity, and this is my third trip, and it was the trip that concluded the selection of objects for that exhibition. So we're really quite far along, yes.
Wow. Maybe you can give us kind of a capsule, an idea of what sorts of things you're looking at to bring back to Oklahoma.
Well, we feel like it's often, and I'm working with a really fantastic team that has been attached to the project. Welena Quiton and Leslie Halfmoon have been attached to the project for quite some time, helping to sort of steward the information that's been provided previously. And as we were going through, one of the things that we really felt like we're thinking about how do we talk about our tribal communities and the things that are important to us. And of course, the material culture that lives within our community is often placed in museums and taken out of context. And so we have selected some beautiful robes, dresses, but also selection of toys, some musical instruments, and just varying objects that are show a historical presence of these things, how important our aesthetic systems are to us, and give us a chance to talk about our history from our perspective as well.
We have heard in the past, talking to various people involved in artistry and museums, that many of the things that were traditional in nature were not created just as art pieces, but were created as practical use kinds of items. That art for purely art's sake wasn't what the the artists, quote, the craftspeople, our ancestors were looking at. Now, is that kind of holding up still? I know there are hundreds of our people who are artists and create art for art's sake, but in the traditional sense, I guess, just something to hang on the wall wasn't the idea, in other words.
Sure. I mean, I think that when you think about our cultural customary practices, one didn't want to waste time on something that wasn't going to be useful. And there was no reason not to make the things that we are using or were using aesthetically pleasing. And not just aesthetically pleasing, but many of our cultural philosophies are coded into the designs and the particular colors that are used. So these objects were just as much about them being beautiful as they were of reiterating our place in the world and the way that we think of things. And, even the use of a particular kind of blue could really emote a lot of information for people who recognized that and saw it in use. So they were as much instructional and educational as they were aesthetic. And I think that's something that is particular to indigenous communities globally and absolutely true for American Indian communities. Of course, when you think of the influx of the market economy and capitalism, there are some fantastic Native people who are able to take those aesthetic ideas and translate them into objects that are made particularly just for sale. And I think that they have to be recognized and honored as, being able to carry forward those aesthetic values as, many of us have moved away from having hand-woven baskets as our primary containers in exchange for the easy accessibility of some kind of a plastic container. So there's been a change out in how we live in the world, and I think that the fine art world has given us a space to continue to hold on to the visual culture that we still very much value as Indian people.
So practical can be beautiful. And
oh, absolutely.
I guess Tupperware has found its way into our cultures. Now, can we take a second and I'm interested in you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Yes, I'd be happy to. So I'm Choctaw and Chickasaw, and I was raised in the Carnegie area. My grandparents were Henry Ottone and Lucille Ottone. And Henry Ottone was my grandmother's second husband. So I'm not Kiowa, but it's the place where I find my family and the place that I'm very, it feels like home. But I was also my mother's Mary Ottone, and she lives in the Bing area near the Chickasaw community, and she traveled us quite a bit as young people, lived in many places around the West Coast, and that experience gave me access to thinking about the world and getting to know many different kinds of tribal people, different tribes in those areas, but also other kinds of cultural communities. And when my husband and I chose to move our family to Oklahoma, after living in Santa Fe, we met at the Institute of American Indian Arts, and I got a degree there in creative writing. We came home to Oklahoma with our son, and it really became apparent to me that there was a lot of work that could be done to really support our Oklahoma people and the tribes and the economy around the arts. And so that's been something that I am dedicated to, and to that end, I have completed a degree in printmaking at OU and then a master's degree in art history. And then not too long ago, a PhD degree in the interdisciplinary studies of art history, anthropology, and Native American studies.
So
really
I should,
seeking a way to speak about our Indian art in a way that's meaningful to us, but also to the rest of the world.
Should I refer to you as Dr. Ottone then?
Well, you can, but I'm not the only one, and it might be confusing.
Okay, as I said,
Yeah.
Okay, now, with that kind of background, both as a member of an Oklahoma tribe and the educational opportunities you've had, do you have a plan then to make this museum reflective of the wide variety of tribes, 39 here in Oklahoma. I mean, you've got the huge Cherokee tribe, then you've got the smaller tribes in the Southwest whose cultures are light years apart almost in many aspects. So how are you going to tackle that one?
Well, it's a commitment that we've all made in our work at the cultural centers, recognizing that the 39 tribes in Oklahoma really, there's an equity in how we're dealing with the exhibitions. As far as, we actually have a document for our galleries that shows how many stories are being told about each tribe. We're taking that kind of work and representation very seriously. Truly, there are communities for whom scholarship is deeper, the documented history is more accessible, but that doesn't make our work any easier or harder. We simply seek out the stories that exist, and certainly we're looking to the tribes to help support how they want those stories to be told. And this is something that has been a part of the Cultural Center's history, and I believe that by the time we get to opening, that the tribes will see themselves, the tribal members will see themselves, and people can come in and really get a unique experience in a world-class museum.
That sounds like a heck of a challenge, and of course we wish you well. Now, maybe we can take a second. I know this isn't your particular end of the story or part of the story, but maybe you could kind of serve as a spokesperson to kind of let us know where we are in the museum. Now, I understand that there have been agreements signed to look at the completion of the museum. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I will just affirm to you that is one aspect. I trust James Pepper Henry, the leadership he's providing to get us to the opening day. What I can tell you is just as I focus on my work, that what I have been assured is that the museum is in a really excellent position to move forward, that construction will resume this fall. We are looking at a spring 2021 opening date, and that there is a unique partnership currently forged to support both the opening and operation of the museum, but also a commitment to making the museum an important part of the cultural fabric of the state in concert with the tribes.
Now, what have you heard from the state? Has the state of Oklahoma kind of stepped up to the plate again? It was actually their idea to begin with, and then kind of fell by the wayside. But have there been any renewed commitments? Something we can point at?
Well, I hate to. This really isn't my area, but I can say that I know that they just recently have signed. Governor Fallon signed, and whatever your feelings are about her, did sign in the bond that completed the foundational money that was committed, I believe, almost a decade ago towards this museum, and that it is now coming to, I believe it'll come in October. There's some date in October attached to it. But I'm gonna leave it there just because I really don't know the details, and I don't want to misrepresent the story.
No, that's fine, but you're closer to it than I am, so we thought we'd ask. And now we've mentioned the tribes here. I know the Chickasaws have played a huge part in the progress of the museum and its construction. But have you been hearing anything from the other tribes stepping up and saying, well, we have some parts of our history and perhaps some items from our collection that we could put on loan as exhibits? Has that been happening?
Well, it's something that I anticipate to happen at some point. I will tell you that we've been working with the content that had been developed for this project over the last really 10 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that, and going through that because the tribes have all 39 tribes have participated in that process. And we really don't want to dismiss the efforts that have already been made. As we have sifted through and culled the stories and work towards this tribal equity and representation within the exhibition, we have identified particular stories that we believe will help to tell a very compelling story about our tribes and our collective and shared, but also unique histories. At some point, probably in the next year, I hope that we'll be back in dialogue with the tribes, but I really respect that they've already invested a lot, and we wanted to have a plan so that when we re-engage with the tribal communities and certainly the tribal leaders, it respectfully express our commitment to doing the very best we can with this institution.
Will that mean any meetings and consultations around Oklahoma to help develop these ideas?
I can very easily see that happening, yes. Yes, I expect that will be part of it, but nothing has been scheduled, and I think that we just have to put all of our work together in a package so that we can really present the vision of where we're going to be, and then seek their participation in a way that gives them room to participate in a way that is meaningful to them. So I think it'll be collaborative in nature as we get closer.
Right. I know probably that you would probably be hearing from them if you didn't.
I expect so.
Yeah, I guess that's the way our folks are. Now, as we look forward in the future and kind of check out what will be on exhibit, what will people see when they come in, what kind of mix are you going to put together? I know that many of our folks love seeing our traditional artwork and artifacts, buckskin shirts and headdresses and lances and beadwork. But how will you balance that with a more contemporary look? Perhaps you've been through Santa Fe, the school there. That's responsible for this wonderful development and evolution in more modern techniques as far as art goes. And it always comes to mind, the Fritz Shoulders and T.C. Cannons. And how is that going to mix with the Fred Beavers and the A.C. Blue Eagles, I guess is maybe what I'm asking.
Well, I think one of the things that we are, and all the things you've described are all art, and we are telling a very broad story, and we're going to, I'm hoping that we'll be able to find a really striking balance between art as well as objects, and because I think there are objects, as you mentioned, that might not be considered art from a Western perspective, but for us they mean a lot. How important is a gavel when we're talking about our sovereignty? And so I do think that there are elements of, I'm so sorry, I'm sitting on the mall and there's a lawnmower going by. But I do think that there's going to be a way for us, these are all important visual signifiers of our tribal lifeways, our histories, and our philosophies. And I think that we're looking to create a really elegant but also honest. Some places it will be painful, but also celebratory series of gallery spaces. And within those, because we are working towards an opening exhibition that could very well be up for as much as 10 years, we're being very strategic to make sure that some of the things that you're describing may be incorporated into the stories that, Fred Beaver was depicting. So his images can help us tell that story. Whereas, someone like T.C. Cannon, whose fantastic exhibition up at the Gilcrease right now, can help us to talk about what it is or was to be a Native American in the 1970s. So there are aspects of all of those artists and different kinds of visual culture that we have that will be a part of what we're doing. But our primary thing is to tell the story of our Oklahoma tribes. So the stories are going to be largely the things that everything else will be hinged around rather than just the visual elements.
Now, you used the word painful in your description there, and that intrigues me. I know that much of the history between our peoples and the dominant society has not been very good. In Oklahoma, it kind of stands out. People, are still mad about the Allotment Act, and particularly things like the land rush, where they, charged in and took over what they said wasn't being used. Now, how are you going to deal with that? That's probably going to set the hairs on the back of somebody's neck standing up a bit. Let's put it this way: it might show something they don't want to see. So how are you? Have you got a plan there? Have you got an idea of what you want to do?
I do, and our team has worked in a really collaborative nature so that all of our collective voices have contributed to a plan. There are a series of chronologically organized spaces that we are calling value circles, because they are the place within which we are exploring the human values as Indian people that have, been in effect during these chronologically structured series of events. And we have designated one of those galleries just to address the issues of the historical realities and the pain that it caused to our families of removal and allotment. And we've put that together. We've been referring to it as the storm. It's the storm, and I think that there will necessarily need to be moments where lightning bolts, maybe not an actual lightning bolt, but certainly an object could be an important trigger for people. And I think that until we can reconcile that this is part of American history, that this is part of global history, this kind of treatment of indigenous people, that our state will never really truly heal from it. So we're going to rip the Band-Aid off that, and I hope that people will understand that whatever pain they might for a moment encounter, that our families have lived with, and whatever healing may come from that. And it's a difficult section to work with. We have had to read through stories that, honestly, any of us might rather not have to read that, even as Indian people. But if we don't put it head on, I don't know when we get past it.
Now, is there going to be an educational process or perhaps an educational undercurrent here? I'm thinking and asking this because I've run across situations where, quite frankly, the dominant society here in Oklahoma is absolutely ignorant about its native heritage here. And I've heard statements like, well, I hate anything that's coming from the government that's based on race, which is hugely wrong. And they have no idea about the political relationships that were the basis of what we have today. Like you don't make treaties with races. In other words, you
exactly.
do it with other governments. Now, will the museum tackle that one at all? Will it be woven into what you present?
I definitely think it'll be interwoven. It is not the most important story that we have to tell, because I will say that we have tried to put the tribe stories first. Obviously, that's a part of the tribal stories, but one of the points I have made for years now is that when we're talking about culture, there is no American Indian culture. There is Kiowa culture, Mvskoke culture, that the culture belongs to those individual tribes and the people of those tribes. And so really, for me, the idea that we address race and really maybe expose the political and economic motivations to hold on to notions of race is really an important thing that we can do in our museum, and it's also something that we really should be tackling in a social discourse. On the other hand, I want to make sure that the tribal voices are very distinctly heard, and being able to do that means that we need to give over. The issue of race may not be the most important story to those tribes. Mm-hmm. And so letting them have the a priori in how the stories are told and how their story is told definitely is something that we are trying to protect as well.
Yeah, we would remind our listeners that a lot of Oklahomans do have Indian blood, and we're a lot closer related than you might think. All right, Heather, now we've got a minute or two here left. Is there any thoughts you might want to leave with us? And once again, when will we see those museum doors open?
Well, I think, just to follow up on that last little bit of a conversation between us, I think one of the things that we've really kind of tried to hold on to is that as Americans, we are all treaty people. We either are on one side of that treaty or the other. And it's really important to make sure that there's a recognition for the political and cultural impacts that these kinds of relationships bear moving forward. We're working with the best practices currently available through Indigenous methodology, but I truly believe that Indigenous methodology serves all of us. It's not just Indigenous people that benefit from that because it operates out of respect and relationships. And all of that, I am hoping that people will feel when they come to our opening day in spring of 2021. I don't believe a date has been set, but I hope that people will mark out sometime in that period of April or May, whenever that time is going to come, and make sure that they come to our opening weekend, because I really, truly believe they'll see themselves there, whoever they are.
Good words. All right, well, hopefully you'll see myself there.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm still hanging on here, so I will be probably still working well past retirement. So it'll be nice to cross trails in person, Heather Autone, and we appreciate your time here today, and we'll look forward to the museum's opening.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Gary. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too. All right, that was Heather Autone, the curator of the American Indian Museum, Cultural Center Museum in Oklahoma City. It's going to be constructed and finished up, she says, in the spring of 2021, so we'll be looking forward to seeing that. We're going to take a short pause here, and then we're going to talk about going back to school. It's time to start thinking about that, and we have some resource people from the Mvskoke Creek Nation who will be joining us to talk about it. So stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio. Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew, KOKL in beautiful, sunny downtown Okmulgee. We'd like to welcome to our studios now Robin Hayes and Lauren Randall. They're here to talk about some items you might want to know about if you got some kids getting ready to go back to school. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for making time and joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Well, we first of all have... let's toss this one out there. We have an event coming up on Friday, August 3rd that will benefit anyone who's got a child going back to school and a member of our tribe, or any federally recognized, right?
Correct.
Okay, first of all, what is that? Do you want to fill us in there?
So last year, TANF, we had our first back to school event, and we gave away 500 backpacks. We had free food, free haircuts. So this year, when we started planning, we wanted to collaborate with other departments. So we are collaborating with childcare, employment and training, and children and family services this year. And we wanted to make it bigger and better than, our first year. So we've got a bunch of different events, or activities. We've got, there's going to be pony rides, obstacle courses, inflatables. We're going to have a water slide out there. And then there will also be people coming from Renovations, an upscale salon here in Okmulgee. They're going to be doing free haircuts during the event that day at the Dome. And, there's going to be resource tables with activities and games for the kids. And we're also going to be giving away backpacks with school supplies.
Okay, Robin Hayes is also joining us. Now, Robin, you are with the school clothing program, right?
That's correct.
Okay, now why don't you give us a quick capsule of what that's all about?
Okay, well, the school clothing program, we assist Creek Nation students or Creek students all over the United States. We have improved this year. The Head Start through 5th grade, they'll still receive $200. However, 6th grade through 12th grade will now receive $250. per year, and it's available once per year.
Okay, now we're not talking about handing them cash there, are we?
No, it's a check that's going to be made out to whoever they list as a head of household on the application.
Now, how does that work? So the student, the child, can take this to any, like participating stores or any store?
It's any store. The check is actually made out to the head of household. They can cash it and they can go to any store that they choose. They can order online. As long as they have those receipts that show that they what was purchased, the amount that was spent, and the name of the store.
So those receipts play an important part of what you're doing here, right?
Absolutely. We want to make sure that the money is being spent on the students for clothing.
Okay, so nobody can go out and...
Right, you can't, don't buy cheesecake or cell phone minutes or anything, tuxedos, anything like that.
But when we say school clothing, that's a variable that changes so much. I mean, of course, fashion trends and things like that. Are kids going to be able to purchase things that fashionable at the moment?
Absolutely, whatever the parents choose, as long as it's something that those children can wear on a regular basis to school. Underclothes, shirts, jeans, dresses, whatever the children need. We just don't do school supplies.
Okay, but is say a $200 pair of sneakers a good idea?
We have some that do that. We'd rather see it spent reasonably, but like I said, it's completely up to the parents and the children. Just as long as those receipts total or exceed the amount that they were awarded.
Okay, and styles change anyway. I mean,
right.
They could be wearing something that's really hip now, and
next year it's out. Yeah.
Okay, now, Lauren, now the back to school event is coordinated through your office with all of these different programs. Now, is this like a really comprehensive meeting, opportunity, seminar, whatever you want to call it? I mean, have you got it from A to Z, so to speak?
Yes, yeah, we've been meeting since probably about, well, our department has been planning it since March of this year, and then we just began meeting with these other departments, I think in June, to make it bigger than it was last year. So yeah, they're bringing their resources, and we're having additional activities. Last year we only had inflatables, so we're gonna have the water slide, ponies, and obstacle courses this year. So yeah, we're hoping it's gonna be bigger and better than last year. We've got several different departments from Creek Nation that are coming. We've got the Family Violence Prevention, the College of Mvskoke Nation, WIC, Child Care. There are nurses that are coming from the Sapulpa Indian Clinic, and they're going to be reviewing and printing out shot records. And Light Horse, School Clothing, LIHEAP, and Children and Family Services. And those are just a few of the departments that are going to come out and provide resource tables that day.
Sounds like you can get a lot of questions answered all at once. And for the kids, there's lots of fun stuff there to make them almost forget they're going back to school.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now let me ask you about the medical end of it. Now, I remember when I was in school, particularly for athletes and things, you'd have to go undergo physical and get a doctor's approval, and then another aspect would be vaccinations. And I know that's become somewhat controversial in the last few years. Are you going to be tackling those to any degree there?
The nurses that are coming from the Sapulpa Indian Clinic, they are going to be providing literature that explains, the importance of, why you should get immunizations for your children. So yeah, they will be providing that information.
Vaccinations, as I have pointed out, have been something that's been really controversial in the last few years. Some claim it created autistic children, and had that effect. And others saying, come off it, that's ridiculous. Have you run into that, or have you kind of made provision for dealing with those sorts of arguments, or do you really deal with them?
I personally don't deal with that. I know, through TANF, we do recertifications for our clients every year, where they do have to provide updated immunization records. But then, we do have some also that they choose not to immunize their children. So yeah, we deal with it, with our clients. But yeah.
Then I guess it's up to the schools then to take it from there.
Yes.
Personally, I always thought, I never cared for standing in line and listening to other kids scream as they got a shot, but I kind of understood what it was all about, and it did me pretty well. So I guess you've got it covered then.
Yes.
Now, for the both of you, what kinds of questions are you hearing from parents these days? I don't know how much student and parent contact each of you have, but are you getting any unusual questions or things coming up that never occurred in the educational process before? Can you think of anything that either of you run into?
We really haven't at school clothing, since it's all around the school clothing program. So there's not been any real education questions for us.
Anybody objecting to a limitation, saying $200 is a drop in a bucket for clothing these days?
We haven't had one complaint. Everybody's really excited that we've upped the amount to $250 for this 6th grader through 12th graders.
Okay, and
yeah, I was surprised at that. We got our check, and I was like, they gave us too much money. But then I checked and saw that y'all were giving more money.
So I take it you have kids.
Yeah, I've got 3.
Whoa! So that could be quite a challenge. Well, let me ask you. I'm curious now. When you go out on this shopping trips, is it difficult these days for you to kind of budget what your resource is with what the kids want?
No, we're very appreciative of what we receive, but I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she's kind of expensive, so she could probably spend that whole amount herself. So, we spend what we receive from the school clothing program and more also.
Have you had any comments about the amounts that you provide, either way, yay or nay?
No, we haven't really had any problems with that.
So people are
very happy with our program. We get a lot of thank you notes. We even get a lot of little pictures that they send us of the kids holding their little school clothing up and things like that. So people are really appreciative of it, and it does help.
Yes, it does, definitely.
Is everyone pretty good about returning the receipts? Have you had any problems there?
Most people return the receipts because they do have a 90 calendar day deadline, and that's from the date that's on the check. And we do mail reminders out letting them know the exact date that they're due. So there's some that have problems, but for the most part, they get them back on time, and they do total or exceed the amount that they were awarded.
Well, that's good. No $200 sneakers, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we have looked at your flyer that's going out and should be available through several resources. The families that you're seeing, probably both of you, are they more family units coming in? I mean, are you seeing real increases in, let's call it the demand for your services, or is it holding fairly steady?
I think for this event, last year we did this event and we ordered enough backpacks and supplies for 500 people. And they registered at the event, and so this year we changed it up where we're doing pre-registration. So we've been accepting pre-registrations for about 2.5 weeks now, and as of this morning we closed our registration because we have pretty much gotten close to the amount, the maximum amount that we can provide backpacks and school supplies for. So yeah, we're got about 700 registered as of this morning, 700 school-age children.
And there's got to be a lot more out there.
Yes.
Saying, oh, darn it, I should have.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Robin, how about you? Any change in demand there?
Not that I've seen. Last year, for 2017, we assisted over 10,000 children, or it's 6,000, a little over 6,000 families. So I haven't really seen any changes this year. Just in July of this year, however, we've assisted over 2,000 children. That was just in July. So it might go up this year. We're seeing a lot more applications come through, it seems like.
Do you have a closing date for those applications?
It is January 28th.
Oh, so they can
Yeah,
get
it's year-round. We're calendar year now, so they can apply any time in 2018.
Okay. So what would one need for summer school then?
For summer school,
Yeah, what typically are people buying there?
just the normal clothes, jeans, shirts, undergarments, dresses, tennis shoes. We're seeing a lot of tennis shoes come through.
None of those ripped up fancy jeans that are...
We've seen a couple like that come through, but not very many.
I can't understand why people would pay a couple $100 for
And they do.
for something.
They do.
Yeah. Give it to a kid for about 3 weeks and they end up like
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh, my God. Now, has the effect been something you all could look at and measure? I mean, I know it's kind of hard since you don't really get around them all the time, but do you feel like you've made progress? You've made a significant impact for these kids? They're well-dressed, or supposedly well-dressed when they go to school. They have the supplies they need to meet their class needs. Does that reflect back to you? Do you get feedback?
Yeah, at the event, we always have, we have clients that attend the event, and even, I'm on Facebook, so, people will message me and let me know, that they appreciate, what we are doing. And, most of the schools in our area, they do have Indian Ed or JOM programs that provide school supplies for the Native students. And, my children, their Indian Ed program, they provide everything that is on my children's list. But I know, there are the smaller schools where, all of the school supplies aren't provided. So I think and I hope that, by doing this event, we're helping, more people. And I know this year, we're going to be giving away more backpacks. And if we continue to do this event, hopefully we can increase the number of children every year that we are assisting.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, we have lots of parents that tell us that the children, they're excited to go back to school with the new clothing, the new tennis shoes, that they're ready to go back, and it makes them feel better, and it makes it starting back to school easier on the students.
Now, let me share something that from my own ancient history, where these programs weren't available or didn't exist. When I was in school, there wasn't any. I mean, zip. And whatever money we heard came from the BIA to support Indian students in Tulsa was dumped into their general pot, saying, oh, well, it's good for all students. But I don't think that's what it was intended for. And I always felt kind of ripped off because I had cousins and kinfolk out in the rural areas. They had bus transportation, they got lunches. If there was an opportunity for them to participate in something, those fees were covered, but we didn't. Do you run into that? Do you make any distinction there? Do you get, I guess kids from Tulsa participate too?
Yeah, we did the registration last year, and we're doing pre-registration this year. So looking at all the ones that we've received, we've got people coming from McAllister, Chelsea, we've, further up north and east and west, we've got people coming from all over that have pre-registered their children. We didn't specify last year that the school supplies were going to be given to just Native families. So, we had a really good turnout last year. And so this year, TANF, we're a federally funded program. And so we wanted to, kind of scale it back to assisting Native families.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because I know there are other kids in the same situation. I mean, we weren't poor, shall we say, but close enough to where we could see it from where we were standing. And I know there are kids that were, harder up than we were that sure could have used that help.
Yeah.
Now, the tribe is backing this these programs, this event. Do you have any idea, any ballpark figures of what the budgets for these things are? I mean, how much is the tribe investing? I know that's not exactly your end of the business, but any feel for commitment there?
I know for us, our department, we've ordered, the backpacks and school supplies for 700 children, and then the other departments are taking care of, the food and all the inflatables. And so I would probably guess maybe around 20,000, I'm guessing.
That's decent, and we'll take it.
For the school clothing program, I know last year we spent a little over $2 million.
Oh, wow.
And this year they have allowed us, I think it's a little over $3 million. So we're expecting to grow, and this year we are assisting college students.
Oh, there you
Yes, so that's $150 per college student. So I think that's why they, give us more money to spend.
Mm-hmm.
But last year was over $2 million.
Yeah, now college kids bring on a whole new world.
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's where you might save $200 speakers. Now the question comes up: what should a parent bring with them when they attend one of these events or apply for your programs? What the documentation? What do they need? Let's start with you, Lauren.
So for our back to school event, we are doing pre-registration, but unfortunately we're maxed out on the number of people that have pre-registered. So we actually closed that today. But for the pre-registration, we were asking for the child's name, enrollment number, tribe of the tribe that they're enrolled in, their birthday, and the school that they're attending and the grade that they're going into. So we're just doing phone registrations because I know, in the past, other programs have done, online registration, and, most, people may not have access. So we thought we would make it easier by just doing phone registrations. So yeah, that's how we were registering this year. And then for the actual event, just show up with your children that have pre-registered and check in at our registration tables, and we'll give them their backpacks and bracelets to get their food at that time.
Okay, so there's some kind of a...
Yeah, or try to have a little bit of a system in place.
Okay, what about the walk-ins then? Do you say, well, sorry, we're full up, we're all covered?
Yes, we're still encouraging people to come because we are doing the free haircuts, and then we have all the different toys and everything that the kids can do. So yeah, and the free food, we're still going to give that away. But yeah, unfortunately at this time, we're maxed out on the number of backpacks that we are giving away.
No fry bread?
I wish there was fry bread.
Imagine 500 pieces of fry bread. I'm going to have a... now, Robin, what sort of documentation would a parent need to qualify for your program?
Well, for the pre-K through 12th grade, there's an application. It's 2 pages. They'll have to complete the entire application, page 1 and 2. There's a school enrollment form that the parents have to take to the school and have the school complete, and the school also verifies who the parent guardian is and their address. If they did not submit a citizenship card last year, then they have to submit one this year with their application, or if it expired, then we need a new updated citizenship card. For the college, there's an application. They'll need to submit a copy of their citizenship card, and then as proof of enrollment, a letter on school letterhead from the registrar showing full-time enrollment, including the official seal of the college or technical school. Because it's not just college, it's college and tech school.
Sure, and a lot of folks just down the road here going to Mulgi Tech.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
I guess the flip side of the coin now, is there something that parents should not do or bring when they show up for these events or come into your office?
As far as school clothing, not really. If they bring it in, we're assisting them right there, telling them what they need and make sure everything's complete. If there's something that they send in with their application through the mail or fax or email, then we'll just go ahead and scan it in even if we don't need it. If there's something missing, we'll mail them a letter letting them know what else we need.
Okay.
For the back to school event, any child that attends has to be accompanied by an adult 18 or older. So you can't bring your kids out there and just leave them for the evening. We're going to have a lot of toys and activities out there, but yeah, we ask that the parents stay with the children out there.
So no free daycare.
No, yeah, it's not free daycare Friday night.
Okay, and probably a good idea for those folks attending to leave their firearms and ugly dogs at home.
Correct, yes. We will have Light Horse in place out there just in case.
Wonderful. Now I guess the last thing we need to know from each of you is a contact point. A lot of folks have adopted the online kind of connections, but others just prefer the old phone. Mm-hmm. So, Robin, how should they get a hold of you if they want to ask questions, to obtain more information or apply?
They can call us. Our number is 918-549-2473. They can email us, and our email address is schoolclothing@mcn-nsn.gov. Like I said, they're more than welcome to come by the office if there's any questions. If they're local, we'll be happy to answer any way we can.
Okay.
And the Creek Nation TANF office, our number is 918-732-7985. And we have a link on the Creek Nation website under Human Services.
Okay.
And School Clothing also has a link, and they can print off applications under the School Clothing.
That's great. Now, in a minute or so we have left, is there any last thoughts that either of you would like to leave for our listeners or parents out there?
Just like to encourage everybody to come out. If you haven't pre-registered, unfortunately, you will not probably receive a backpack with school supplies, but you still can take advantage of the games and activities and the free food and free haircuts that we will have out there.
Great.
Just send your applications in. We assist students all over the United States.
All right. Well, we want to thank you all for coming in today. We appreciate Robin Hayes and Lauren Randall coming in to talk with us about back to school, kids. It's almost that time, so get ready for it. All right. Well, thank you again. We'll take a short pause here, and we have a couple of community announcements we'll be sharing here, so stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio. Well, I guess that one's over. All right.
Red Stick Gallery in Okmulgee, Oklahoma features items handmade or designed by Mvskoke Creek enrolled citizens from all over. Owned by the Mvskoke Creek Nation, the gallery proudly sells ribbon skirts and vests, Southeastern designed clothing, jewelry, prints, and many other items. For more information, visit www.creeknationgiftshop.com. Red Stick Gallery, located 105 South Grand Avenue in historic downtown Okmulgee.
Okay, in the way of community announcements, let's take a look here. First of all, a lot of stuff happening this week. This Friday, the August the 3rd, there's a free junior tennis clinic for ages 5 years to 18 years of age. It's a mini tennis clinic to be held at the Kicking Bird Tennis Center and 1500 East Danforth Road, and that's in Edmond. It's put on for any junior players in the Mvskoke Creek Nation boundaries, with a morning session and an afternoon session. So if you're interested, you might want to check that out. Rackets, balls, court time, water and lunch will be provided. So you need an extra t-shirt, towel, sunscreen, flip-flops, hat, and a container for water, and a box lunch will be served. So if you're interested in this junior tennis kickoff, call Vicki Tate, 918-732-7672. Yeah, that's it. Okay, coming up Saturday, August the 4th. Okay, if you've ever wondered what our outro music is like, that was it. So it kicked in a little bit early, and we've got a couple of minutes left, and I still have a couple of announcements. So as we said, August the 4th at 8 p.m., there is a church breakfast and garage sale at the Old Indian Baptist Church in Eufaula. That's August 4th at 8 p.m. is what it says, so check it out. Back to school bingo party coming up at Wetumpka High School Cafeteria. It is a free event on August the 7th at 6:30 p.m. Join NYCP for an evening of fun and prizes. Food will be provided. So if you're interested to help them out, back to school bingo. Okay, the Mvskoke Creek Nation Public Officials Ethic Commission will be holding a hearing on August 21st in the Mound Building Auditorium at the Tribal Complex from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. The proposed rules and regulations for this commission will be discussed and presented there and take public comment. Let's see here, where it's a Campaign Financial Disclosure Act. So that's a real important subject that we think you might want to be in on. So we want to check it out there. All right, and that's it for me. I think that's about everything we've got to share, and we've heard the music. So I'll tell you what, why don't we kick out of here pretty quick and go ahead with your regular music, and we'll get back to the satellite. Thank you.